Sports consultant and mentor. Today's conversation is pretty specific. It's just having one coach at a time. And so there's a micro version of this and a macro version of this. So we're going to start with the macro version of it. Okay. So what does one coach at a time mean? One coach at a time on the biggest scale is going to be you want to have one vision for your success for this year, one goal, and having someone that kind of is the overall final say of this plan, right? So the first thing is you are the ultimate decision maker. You decide from here what your ultimate goals are. Then once you identify what the ultimate goals are, then you will choose a professional, not a parent, not an assistant, a professional to help guide you through this plan. And this plan will have multiple layers in it. However, these multiple layers will come from and um, speak through this main coach. Here's what I mean. Okay. So let's say I want to go to the Division 1 college for track and field. Okay. In this process, I also do multiple sports. I do football, basketball, and track. But overall, I still want to focus on track and field. I play my other sports, but I want to go pro or to college on a D1 scholarship for track and field. Then I decide, okay, I need support in getting me to this place. I don't know how to do it. I just know that's my end destination. I then want to hire a professional. Okay. Then that professional will say, okay, let's look at all the things you're doing. You're in football, you're in basketball, you're in track. Football is something that we want to have fun with, but we also want to make sure that we're still like set to go for track and field. We're in basketball. We want to make sure we're having fun with basketball, but we still want to keep our focus towards track and field. How are we going to be able to set ourselves up to where we're ready to go for track and field season? That means during football, we want to make sure we're covering our body. We want to make sure that we're stretching, we're eating correctly, we're having a good active and passive recovery in games, pre-game and post games, right? Then in basketball, it's the season prior to track and field. We want to make sure we're doing our conditioning and running and hip mobility things in the basketball season to make sure that we're good to go, healthy. And also, we don't have to fine tune or readjust any type of technical flaws we may have with running for track and field. Then once track and field season comes in, we're going to then make sure we're good to go. Make sure that our running form is good, our drills are correct, and we're healthy, obviously, and we're ready to just hit the track running the second we get to the track and field season. That is going to be ran by your professional. Very important you hire a mentor or professional to oversee this process. Then from there, you have your individual coaches. You have your football coach, you have your basketball coach, you have a track and field coach. Those coaches are going to have their own ideals. They're going to have their own philosophies. Well, who governs those philosophies towards your specific goal? Because you are on a football team where, let's say, you're the backup. Well, if you're the backup, well, then you want to make sure that you're still enjoying the sport, right? If you're a starter, again, you want to make sure you're enjoying the sport. But what if you're a starter and you're playing both ways? Well, then what happens? Because if you're looking to go D1 for track and field, you're probably going to be a starter for football. Well, the football coach may use your ability more than he needs to, he or she needs to, because we need wins. But if you know that your team is not going to win league or your team is going to win a championship, well, then what does that mean? It means that your season will go a lot longer than normal. It'll bleed into basketball, right? Or understanding that your coach is going to play you every single down. If your team is really, really that good and supposed to win, then you're going to pull the starters out at a certain time. There's about a lot of layers to that, right? We can go into a whole rabbit hole with that. Now get into basketball. Are you playing every single minute of the game? Are you playing multiple times? Is this going to help or hurt you for your track and field season? Is your team winning? Are you going to win a state championship? Again, if you're going to win a state championship, you're probably going to be into the latter part of season, but also bleeding into your track and field season, right? Again, another layer to focus on. And then track and field, is your track and field coach keeping focus that we want you to win state, or are you just trying to win a league championship and have you in multiple events that don't really need you? If you're a 100 and 200-meter star, then does it make sense to have you on a 4x1? Odds are yes, right? But does it make sense to have you on a 4x1, 4x2, and 4x4 when your main events are the 100 and 200? Those things get to be talked about. Well, who talks about this to your individual coaches during season? It's going to be that professional, right? That professional is going to give you advice, to have the direct conversations with these coaches about what your plan is. As long as your coaches know what the plan is, then they can make a decision on what they will and what they won't side with. There's a lot of layers to that, right? Then from there, how many events you're going to be doing, what your focus is at practice. A lot of these things are very important to make sure that you understand and cover, but sometimes you don't know what you don't know, which is exactly why you want to have that professional there. Okay. Um, so even from there, at the youth level, sometimes parents will get in the way. There are a lot of parents that they always want to be a part of the coaching. Your dad or mom might be a coach. They might say, hey, you know what? I'm not the coach, but I'm going to train you on Tuesday and Thursday when you don't have practice, and we're going to work on some things. Don't do that, right? If you don't have the professional supporting you with, is there a value towards you doing extra work? Then they can decide yes or no. Then you move forward with that plan. But again, there must be governing bodies that are helping you become or get to where you're going. If you don't have that governing body, well, then it's your voice versus the coach, and your parents versus the coach, and you're going to have multiple things happening at the same time. So if you don't have a professional or mentor supporting you throughout your high school or youth sports career, it can lead to injury. It can lead to dysfunction, overtraining, and just a diluted version of your overall results. So it's very important. I just named 3 high school events or 3 high school sports. Some of you guys are doing 3 high school sports and club, right? So if you don't have this voice of reason kind of guiding you through it, then it's going to be a very, very long season. Is it possible? Have people done it? Yes, I did it, but I went to junior college because I didn't have that voice of reason, right? I had the coaches that had their specific agendas. When I quit football my senior year, the coach hated it and, felt that I was making a horrible decision when it was the best decision for me. But again, he knew my talent, my abilities, and wanted to see that and how it could play out. He was looking at it from a perspective of his own selfishness, but he was also looking at it from, he saw something in me that I didn't see yet, but I didn't know how to hear that. So I just heard it as, I'm frustrated that you're not competing for us and we needed you this season. Right. But again, I was what, 16. I couldn't hear everything that was out there. Even in college, our coach was like, I think you're making a bad decision. You're going to be good with basketball. But then again, I knew that I had to be the best athlete on the whole campus to be athlete of the year, so that would guarantee that I would have a scholarship waiting for me at the end of track and field season. But again, if you have that voice of reason, if you have that mentor to help guide your parents, help guide you, help guide the coaches that are around you, just kind of keep everything in order, it's going to make your life so much easier and save so much time. With that being said, I offer these services. I'm not going to do all the sales and pitch right now, but if you are interested in something like that, having this guidance, then you can send me an email at info@keenanbriggs.com. And the reason for this is, I see so many athletes at the youth level do so well. And they're like, I'm in football, I'm in basketball. I have all these things. I have speed trainers. And I'm like, you're training 30, 40 hours a week and you're 10. It's a lot happening here, right? All this 7-on-7 football players that are saying, oh, I got to be here, so I'm going to get a scholarship. You're not. You're not going to get a scholarship from 7-on-7. You're going to get a scholarship for being a football player. You're going to get a scholarship for being in shape and being the best skilled player at your position. And you're going to be a D1 scholarship athlete if you're able to present this to your to those out there looking for athletes that are of your caliber. So there's a way to do it, a way to manage it, and I'm offering those services. And I'm actually, just to kind of keep it hush hush hush, is I'm actually putting together an actual book that explains this navigation process. So I'm super excited. I'm already halfway through with this book explaining all these concepts in detail. But yeah, all right, that's all I got for now. Till next.